Hello, Maria.
Hello again.
I mean, like, not that we don't meet that often, but yeah, glad to have you on this one. It seemed like it's the last one for the day, and it has been a real pleasure for listening to all the sessions and also hosting this particular session, particularly around right sizing. So I know, like, pretty much everybody on the call probably already know you, who you are, but maybe if you can actually spend maybe a minute and a half talking about your security journey itself.
Yes, thank you for having me. So I'm going to go with a shorter and shorter introduction. So I'm a DevSecOps enthusiast. I'm passionate about data protection and application security, product security, with this holistic end-to-end view when all the streams are actually coming together to provide a comprehensive product security. So that's what I'm passionate about. And the maturity, the right metrics, the way to understand, to be able to lead the journey to application security maturity is actually very, very important.
Welcome. So I'm going to change the format a little bit and make it more contextual, right? So where we are talking about the security model. So do you currently, I mean, like, I know you have worked in different organizations, but do you currently rely on maturity models, and how do you measure adherence to those models?
So it's a good question, because a lot of companies, even without using the word maturity model, I think that everybody today is aiming for a maturity model. People are asking, hey, what should I do? What goals should I set? How should I set my goals? What should be my strategy? And subconsciously, we always come to this conversation, maturity model, back to a maturity model. So there was a discussion a little bit earlier when we were talking about what exactly should be measured, how we should be measured, and what is actually a realistic goal to have. And so it's kind of this question came a little bit in the opposite way. So if I want to set up my realistic goals where I need to be, I better have understanding of my maturity level, right? And if I don't have a maturity model that will help me, then my goals may not be realistic, and I'll have a harder time to do that. So I think it kind of comes both ways around.
Okay, so maybe a follow-up question on that one. I know you have been a core member of PBC from the get-go itself, and a critical part of putting the maturity model together. So could you share your views on the proposed PBC S3 model itself, to whatever extent you can?
So busted. I have a site here. I'm part of it. I volunteer to work on this project. I'm investing my knowledge and my time. So obviously I believe in it. I believe that we need such a thing, right? So we're talking here about AppSec maturity model. In order for us to build such maturity model, it has to be, and to be a good one, it needs to be comprehensive. It needs to be flexible. Many people outlined the flexibility as maybe number one. I outlined personally the democratization of this model that can be used by companies small and big, to promote the culture of continuous improvement. It's a journey. It's never going to be completed, probably. And so we are emphasizing on the best practices, the processes, such as the integration and acceleration with DevSecOps, the risk-based prioritization, automation, metrics, collaboration, compliance, governance, you name it, right? So this is not really simple. And from my own experience, and a few people actually mentioned that there's a lot of tools, a lot of resources involved, so it can be pretty expensive. So what I like the best about the code name S3M2 is the approach that it's simple to understand, it's relatively easy to apply, provides meaningful results, and enable the AppSec teams for moving forward. Hopefully, these are not these are goals that we can all achieve, but I think that this is the best, at least for the moment, based on our discussions of the model that we are building.
And one of the things that we talked about in our calls was to make it, like you said, making it very flexible and elastic in terms of adoption, right? So on that specific topic, right, for making this particular maturity more flexible enough and being adopted to a different organization, where do you think the size of an organization becomes a factor on this? Or even if it's not a factor, then why?
So it's a dual sort question again. You guys are not asking me simple answer questions here. So first of all, we need to consider the surface attack, right? So if a bigger and older organization with a lot of applications, and most of those application estate might be with kind of a longer history, older applications. So generally, this larger organization will tend to have more complex application environments, maybe more technical debt. Maybe you would have a greater security risk and really larger surface attack. So the company, the size of the company will matter from this way. If you're more strictly regulated, then there is a mandate for a higher level of maturity in this company's security practices, right? So this is kind of the size of the company on the technical debt. But a large organization may also have more resources available to invest in application security. They can have dedicated security teams, automation teams. They have more money for tooling, better processes, maybe establish more people to support those processes. And that can help them to achieve a higher maturity relatively faster compared to just a small startup with, a pizza-sized team to feed. On the other hand, the smaller organization, although they may have limited resources and may need to prioritize more strictly their investments, they might be more flexible, they may be more agile, they might be able to close out faster. And because they start clean, they may have less technical debt and less older issues to resolve throughout the time. So although the size of the organization can influence the level of the maturity, it also depends on the surface attack. So I would advise that the organizations are assessing, each organization should assess their risk profile and the resources based on what they can determine the application level maturity and what they need to achieve.
And one more question on the lines of the size of the organization. When you're building an AppSec program or you're building it to a level that's appropriate for your organization, how important is to have executive buy-in? And who are the decision makers in that mix?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And I think we already got a couple of answers on it in the previous sessions. One thing is, and I hate answering questions this way, but the answer is really yes and no. I believe that for established application security, you need to have the executive buy-in, you need to have the proper budget, and you need to have the proper support so the message can be properly propagated upwards, right? It's not always up to money and budget. It's sometimes just having a helping hand to prepare the board and to prepare the C-suite for the proper message, to accept the message. Hey, this is where we are. This is where we are aiming to go. This is where we need to be. And this is, by the way, the risk that you have to understand. And this is the risk that you have to accept. Because again, the development teams are not going to accept the risk themselves. It's a much bigger problem. So that's kind of my view on the the need for the executive support.
And one final question, and I know Raj has already joined to ensure we started on time and we're going to finish on time. So he's so one last question, right? So how does the application security program evolve with the industry regulations?
So the evolution can be more gradual and can be also forceful. When you're responsible, when you're in a highly regulated environment, You all the time, somebody reminded you, knock, knock, this is not done, knock, knock, this is what we need to do. And so you have more stringent deadlines. You have more pressure. You probably need more parallel threads to engage and more parallel items to work on. So I think that that can be a significant push and significant pressure to accomplish more work for less time. And possibly I've seen it, unfortunately, reflecting on the quality of the work that needs to be done. So we were just talking about the executive support. Here is another characteristic of the executive support. The executive support should provide kind of a support and guarding to give the development team and the security team the time for the quality work they need to do, and to provide the support if needs to be additional resources or whatever. But again, give me the time to do what I need to do for in a proper way.
Thank you, Maria, for your valuable thoughts and insights into this. I mean, I wish, we had more time for continuing this discussion and this particular panel, but I'm pretty sure Raj has a few things to say.